So we are watching the retrial of Karen Reed. The retrial began on April the 1st, 2025 in Dedham, Massachusetts, following a mistrial in 2024 due to a hung jury. She faces charges of second-degree murder, vehicular manslaughter while under the influence, and leaving the scene of a fatal collision in connection with the 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Prosecutors allege that Reed intentionally struck O'Keefe with her SUV after a night of drinking and left him to die in the snow outside of a fellow officer's home. The defense contends that O'Keefe was killed inside the home and that Reed is being framed in a cover-up involving law enforcement.
117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Can I have counsel identify themselves for the record?
Morning, Your Honor. Adam Lally for the Commonwealth.
Morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Hank Brennan for the Commonwealth.
Morning, Mr. Brennan.
Morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson on behalf of Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Elizabeth Little, also on behalf of Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Ms. Little.
Good morning, Your Honor. Robert Alessi on behalf of Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Alessi.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Yannetti for Karen Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Yannetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. So I have 3 questions I have to ask you because I haven't seen many of you for a long time, and we do appreciate that you are all here ready, willing, and able to get started early. We sometimes have to deal with a few things before bringing you in, but we do appreciate your patience. So those questions are, were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we last saw you? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case?
Yes.
Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we last met? Everyone said no or shook their heads. Thank you very much.
Jurors, can I have each of you stand and raise your right hands, please? Do each of you solemnly swear you shall well and truly try the issue between the Commonwealth and the defendant according to your evidence and according to the law, so help you God? Yes. Thank you. You can have a seat. Jurors, hearken to these indictments. Karen Reed of Mansfield in the county of Bristol, on or about January 29, 2022 at Canton in the county of Norfolk, did assault and beat John O'Keefe with intent to murder such person, and by such assault and battery did kill and murder the said John O'Keefe, and is guilty of murder in the second degree and not in the first degree in violation of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 265, Section 1. 002, Karen Reed of Mansfield in the county of Bristol, on or about January 29, 2022 at Canton in the county of Norfolk, did operate a motor vehicle upon a way as defined in General Law, Chapter 90, Section 1, or in a place to which the public has a right of access, or upon a way or in a place to which members of the public have access as invitees or licensees, with a percentage by weight of alcohol in her blood of 8/100ths or greater, or while under the influence of intoxicating liquor, and did so operate said motor vehicle so that the lives and safety of the public might be endangered, and by such wanton and reckless conduct so described to cause the death of another person, to wit, John O'Keefe, in violation of General Law, Chapter 265, Section 13 and a half. 003, Karen Reed of Mansfield in the county of Bristol, on or about January 29, 2022 at Canton in the county of Norfolk, did operate a motor vehicle upon a way or in a place to which the public has a right of access, or upon a way or in a place to which members of the public have access as invitees or licensees, and without stopping and making known her name, residence, and registration number of her motor vehicle, to go away to avoid prosecution or evade apprehension after knowingly colliding with or otherwise causing injury to John O'Keefe, such injuries having resulted in the death of said person in violation of General Law, Chapter 90, Section 24, Subsection 2, Subsection A and a half, Subsection 2. To these indictments, the defendant has pled that she is not guilty and for trial has put herself upon the country which country you are, and you are sworn to try the issue. If she is guilty, you are to say so. If she is not guilty, you say so and no more. Jurors, hearken to the evidence.
All right. Thank you. All right, members of the jury, I'm about to make some preliminary remarks to you to acquaint you with some of the legal principles, procedure, and terminology that you may inquire during the course of this trial. These comments are not intended to be a substitute for the more detailed instructions on the law that I'll give you at the conclusion of the case. So you'll remember that this is a trial of a criminal case. Ms. Reed is charged with second-degree murder. She's also charged with manslaughter while operating under the influence and leaving the scene after causing personal injury or death, the indictments that Mr. McDermott just read to you. I'll describe the law in detail at the end of the case and the elements of these charges, but briefly, murder is the unlawful killing of a human being. In order to prove Ms. Reed guilty of second-degree murder, the Commonwealth must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she committed an unlawful killing and that it was done with malice. In comparison, manslaughter while operating under the influence is an unintentional, unlawful killing caused by wanton or reckless conduct while under the influence of intoxicating liquor. And leaving the scene of an accident after causing personal injury or death requires the Commonwealth to prove that Ms. Reed knowingly collided with John O'Keefe, that she caused him injury or death, and then she fled the scene. These terms and the elements of the crimes will be explained to you in detail at the end of the case before you begin your deliberations. Now, please remember that Ms. Reed starts this trial presumed to be innocent. The fact that she was arrested or that she was indicted is not proof of anything. An indictment is just a piece of paper. It just makes an accusation. It is merely a formal manner of accusing a person of a crime and bringing that person to trial in the Superior Court. But it is only the jury, in other words, you folks, who can decide whether the prosecution has proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. If the Commonwealth does not do that, then the presumption of innocence alone requires you to find the defendant not guilty. The law never requires a defendant to prove her innocence, to produce any evidence whatsoever, or to do anything other than attend the trial. This presumption of innocence remains with the defendant until you, the jury, make your determination after listening and considering all the evidence. Now, what is proof beyond a reasonable doubt? The term is often used and probably pretty well understood, though it is not easily defined. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean proof beyond all possible doubt, for everything in the lives of human beings is open to some possible or imaginary doubt. A charge is proved beyond a reasonable doubt if, after you have compared and considered all the evidence, you have in your minds an abiding conviction to a moral certainty that the charge is true. When we refer to moral certainty, we mean the highest degree of certainty possible in matters relating to human affairs, based solely on the evidence that has been put before you in this case. I have told you that every person is presumed to be innocent until he or she is proved guilty, and that the burden of proof is on the prosecutor. If you evaluate all the evidence and you still have a reasonable doubt remaining, the defendant is entitled to the benefit of that doubt and must be acquitted. It is not enough for the Commonwealth to establish a probability, even a strong probability, that the defendant is more likely to be guilty than not guilty. That is not enough. Instead, the evidence must convince you of the defendant's guilt to a reasonable and moral certainty, a certainty that convinces your understanding and satisfies your reason and judgment as jurors who are sworn to act conscientiously on the evidence. This is what we mean by proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Firefighter Nuttall, over the lunch hour, did you discuss anything that we had discussed this morning or earlier in the session with anybody about your testimony?
No, sir.
Okay. You did mention earlier today the EMTs that were with you that responded to the scene. You mentioned, I think you said Tony Anthony Flamati,
Yes,
correct?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned Kelly, and I want to say Matthew.
Matt Kelly.
Matt Kelly?
Yep.
Yourself?
Correct.
And of the three of you, two of the three of you were and are paramedics, our firefighter Flamati and yourself, correct?
Correct.
Do you know the name Katie McLaughlin?
I do.
Who is Katie McLaughlin?
She is a firefighter paramedic for the town of Canton.
Was she also on the call?
She was.
You didn't mention her this morning.
It did not come up. She responded on the initial dispatch on engine 3.
You were asked who responded with you, correct?
Yes, sir.
By Mr. Brennan.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned yourself. You mentioned Tony Flamati. You mentioned Matt Kelly.
Yes, myself, firefighter Flamati, and firefighter Kelly responded in ambulance 1 together.
Okay. And how did firefighter McLaughlin respond?
So she was assigned to engine 3 that night. She was with Lieutenant Woodbury and firefighter paramedic Frank Walsh.
She also, in addition to Walsh being, it's Frank Walsh?
Yes, sir.
In addition to firefighter Walsh being a paramedic, Katie McLaughlin was also a paramedic.
Correct.
Okay. So she responded to the scene at the same time as you, generally, but in a different ambulance.
In a fire truck, in a piece of fire apparatus. She was in engine 3.
Got it, engine 3, okay. And she was with you, generally, when I say with you, at the scene during the entire time that you're describing the events that you described with Mr. Brennan on direct examination?
For the most part.
Okay. She then left in a particular ambulance, correct?
Yes, so she ended up driving ambulance 1 to Good Samaritan.
And ambulance 1 was which ambulance?
Ambulance 1 was the initial ambulance that myself, firefighter Kelly, and firefighter Flamati responded in.
So right after this scene, right after the scene you described, as you're leaving the scene, firefighter McLaughlin is in the ambulance with you and firefighter Flamati, correct?
She is driving. So the 3 of us are in the back in the patient compartment. She is up front in the driver's seat.
Once at the hospital, did firefighter McLaughlin go into the hospital with the other firefighters?
I believe so, yes.
So she was with you in the engine, she was, although in the driving cab, she was with you, ambulance in the driving cab. She was also with you right after the scene at the hospital, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she was also with you later after you cleared the hospital and went back to the station?
Yes, sir.
You had discussions with firefighter Flamati about the incident. That would be normal protocol.
Correct.
Almost like a debrief.
Sure.
You had the same types of discussions with firefighter Kelly, Matt Kelly.
Yes, sir.
I'm guessing that you probably had the same sorts of discussions with firefighter Walsh.
I actually don't know if I saw firefighter Walsh when we got back. The weather was, that was right at shift change, and the weather getting back was also getting worse, so I honestly couldn't speak to that.
And you also had conversations with firefighter McLaughlin after you cleared the hospital and got back to the station as well?
She was part of the debrief, yes, sir.
Okay. And all of you discussed what you did, saw, and heard, generally speaking, while at the scene, correct?
Those are more in terms of getting equipment wrangled, really kind of how they go. What did we use? What do we need? What are we going to have to restock when we get back?
Right. But there also was obviously discussions about what had just happened. I mean, you were dealing with a dead or dying police officer on a lawn, on a snow-covered lawn in a cold environment.
I honestly couldn't speak to that, sir. I honestly don't remember.
It's because you don't remember, correct?
Well, like I said, it's mostly, those debriefs are usually, they're very equipment oriented, because the goal at that point is to get back in service.
My question is not about the equipment. Obviously, you're going to discuss the equipment, make sure that the ambulance is ready for the next call, etc. I'm asking about a general debrief with the fellow firefighters, male and female, that you were with at that scene. You're telling me that you don't remember debriefing and discussing the incident and your observations at the incident following that incident?
No, sir.
Okay. But your memory, you indicated earlier, gets better with time, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't remember it as you sit here today?
Ask the question again?
Sure. Do you remember discussing with firefighter Flamati, firefighter Walsh, firefighter Kelly, or firefighter McLaughlin, any of them, your observations and what happened while at the scene after you cleared the hospital and got back to the station?
No, sir.
Have no memory of that whatsoever?
No, sir.
When we left off before lunch, I was asking you about a hematoma and a laceration over the right eye of Mr. O'Keefe. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
I asked you, is being punched in the face, can that lead to a small laceration like you saw and a hematoma like you saw?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it. Can you answer that question?
I couldn't speak to how that injury occurred.
Is it consistent? Are those injuries, just those injuries, are those consistent with being punched in the face?
Those injuries could be sustained from numerous ways.
And
yes, it could be from that. It could be from others as well.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking you. It could be, in other words, it's consistent
Yes,
with
sir.
being punched in the face, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I want to ask you about this statement that you indicate that you heard that now is 3 statements, 3 phrases, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you heard this statement, describe for me exactly where you were. What were you doing and who was around you?
I was knelt at the head of John O'Keefe with a bag valve mask, delivering ventilations. Firefighter Kelly was to the right, and Firefighter Flamati was on the left side of Mr. O'Keefe, and the 3 of us together were working to perform CPR and ventilations.
And your job, and I hate to butcher it, but
Nope.
you'll correct me.
Yes, sir.
Your job was to do the airway, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm picturing a big balloon-like apparatus that you put over the patient's mouth. And
Exactly.
squeeze it.
Yes.
That's as opposed to, it's an advancement on just mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, correct?
Correct, yeah.
You were the airway person doing the squeezing of the bag.
Correct.
What was Tony Flamati, firefighter Flamati, doing?
He was starting CPR, in which that point was taken over by Firefighter Kelly.
Okay, so firefighter Flamati, when you say starting CPR, describe what that means. What is the physical act of CPR?
So you put both hands together like this, one on top of the other. You put it right on top of the sternum, and you begin doing chest compressions 2 inches deep, allowing full recoil for 100 to 120 beats per minute, compressions a minute to sustain a cardiac rhythm. You're manually making the heart beat with each compression.
Which means that is a rhythmic pumping motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you see someone doing CPR, you're probably going to see their shoulders moving up and down and moving rhythmically, correct?
Correct.
Do you remember what firefighter Flamati was wearing? You had just come off of actually you were just coming onto a shift, so you didn't have all your foul weather gear officially, correct?
I had my puffy jacket. I
Okay.
had my Canton Fire jacket.
Got it. Firefighter Flamati, on the other hand, had a bright yellow jacket,
Correct.
sort of reflective and a safety jacket.
Yes, sir.
And he was kneeling to your left at the time doing, have I got that right?
Yep, nope, yep, you got that right.
Okay, he's kneeling to your left at the time doing chest compressions. That's when you indicate that Miss Reed walked over and made the statement.
Correct.
And Kelly was there as well?
Yes, sir.
Kneeling right beside all 3 of you as firefighter Flamati was giving the chest compressions, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You indicated that the statement was in response to a question that you asked of my client, do you know him?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Correct.
And she responded to you with the phrase that you've used, I hit him.
I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Right. So it's absolutely clear in your mind when that statement was made. You were knelt down over Mr. O'Keefe. Firefighter Flamati was doing the CPR, and Kelly was with the both of you when you posed that question.
Yes, sir.
It's a very detailed memory.
Yes, sir.
You indicated, Mr. Brennan, that sticks out in your mind. Is that right?
It does.
But that's not at all what you told Trooper Proctor on February 8th, just 10 days after this incident, is it?
I don't recall what I told Trooper Proctor.
I thought your memory got better with time.
I don't recall that meeting.
Okay.
I recall meeting with him, but I don't recall the extent of what was discussed.
You literally don't recall anything that was discussed in that meeting in that formal interview with the lead detective on this case.
We discussed the case, but I don't, in his words, I'm not sure what he put down.
What you said to Trooper Proctor on February 8th, 10 days after this, was you overheard Miss Reed say, I hit him one time to another female that she was talking to. Correct?
Objection.
No, I'll allow it. Did you say that?
I have no memory of this, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
Did you say that her statement was an answer to a question posed by the female or a discussion with the female?
Break that down for me, sir.
Sure. Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th that what you heard was Karen Reed speaking to a female, not answering a question that you posed?
Again, I don't recall that specific question.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th, while you were rendering aid, and at the time you heard the statement, Miss Reed was actually praying over John? Your words, praying over John.
I don't recall ever saying that.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Before you play it, can we have it on that screen as well, or is it only playing to this screen?
I don't know. When Ms. Gilman did it, it was both. Great.
There we go. All right. Before we play it, can I ask you a quick question about this?
Sure.
It appears that this is paused. Do you recognize this as being the same video that you were shown this morning by Mr. Brennan?
I do.
All right. Describe the scene.
So that is 34 Fairview Road. The lights in the background, I believe it is either right as we pulled up or right as we're pulling up.
Okay. Same dash cam video.
Yes, sir.
Can we scroll this to the 6:55 runtime spot, please? Pause it. Okay. Do you see the individual on the left? Far, far, far left.
Yeah, the jacket?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Who's that?
I believe that's Firefighter Flamati.
You previously indicated that when you heard Ms. Reed make this statement, that firefighter Flamati was on his knees providing CPR at the same time you were knelt down providing the airway.
This isn't when it was
That's
stated.
not my question. Is that what you said?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. You indicated earlier when you heard this statement by my client, you were very detailed. Firefighter Flamati was knelt down providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing airway support for Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
I had also said that at some point,
That's a
Firefighter
yes or no
Flamati
question.
had
So I'm going to let the witness answer the question.
transferred CPR to Firefighter Kelly. Firefighter Kelly did take over compressions at one point.
Okay. That's not my question.
Okay.
My question is an easy one. Did you say that when Miss Reed walked over to you and you had this dialogue with her, she made that statement, that firefighter Flamati was on his knees providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing airway support?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Firefighter Flamati, your testimony, appears to be standing up right there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's play the video forward for just a second. Stop it. What did you see firefighter Flamati do just now?
I believe he just knelt down.
Okay. So at this point, he's kneeling for the first time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's about to provide chest compressions as your memory serves, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause. Did you see my client in that photo? In that clip?
No, sir.
You didn't see her?
Oh, no, I did see her, yeah. I don't see her on right now.
Right. She just walked off frame, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and play it forward. Stop it. You see my client walk back into the frame?
Yes, sir.
At this point, you were watching firefighter Flamati. He appears to be now providing CPR, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And my client is nowhere near you, correct? At least for this clip.
No, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
And the clip that I just played before, the few seconds that I played before, nowhere near you, correct?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and play it forward. pause it, please. What do you see happening on the screen from screen right to screen left at this juncture?
We're bringing in the stretcher.
Okay, go ahead and play it. Pause it. Do you see where my client is right now?
Can you back it up 2 seconds? Sorry, I lost view.
With the court's permission, I need to ask the
Yes.
court's permission. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and play it. Pause. Did you see my client?
Yes, sir.
Where is she in the frame?
Behind that other individual.
Behind the SUV?
I believe she's in front of the SUV and behind the other individual.
Okay. I meant the SUV, that's the white SUV that's in
Yes, sir.
the far distance.
Yes.
That's the back of the SUV, she's behind it, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, not near you?
No.
Okay, let's go ahead and play it. Go ahead and pause it. Do you see what firefighter Flamati is still doing throughout this entire clip?
Chest compressions?
Okay, let's go ahead and play it. Pause. What's happening now?
Where Mr. O'Keefe's on the scoop stretcher and he's being transferred to the ambulance stretcher.
So that's the entire time Mr. Flamati, firefighter Flamati, was giving chest compressions. It's captured right here on this video, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now Mr. O'Keefe is up on the stretcher, and you are no longer knelt down,
No, sir.
and firefighter Flamati is no longer knelt down,
No, sir.
and you're now following the stretcher with, it looks like, 2 or 3 other EMTs, correct?
I am not in that frame, sir.
Okay, so you've walked away.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause it. You see where my client is?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and play it. Do you see firefighter Flamati or firefighter Kelly continuing to give chest compressions?
Yes, sir.
Which one is that? Do you know?
I believe it's firefighter Flamati.
Flamati?
Believe so.
Okay, so he's still doing all the chest compressions from start to finish?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what's happening right now?
Now we are transferring to ambulance 1.
And where's my client?
Right front and center.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
We can realize that. If I may have just a second.
Stop, please. Okay. Do you see the defendant in that screen?
Yes, sir.
Do you see her moving from right to left towards you?
Sustained as to the form.
Okay. What direction do you see her running in that screen from right to left?
She's running towards where the 3 of us are grouped.
Okay. Please continue. Stop, please. Is it at that time the defendant said to you that she hit him?
Yes, sir.
And you remember that?
I do.
Okay. I'm done with the tape. Thank you very much. Now, you were asked questions about your memory.
Yes, sir.
So we just finished watching a snippet of the Karen Reed's retrial. Prosecutors are really focusing on statements that she allegedly made at the scene of her boyfriend John O'Keefe's death. A paramedic has just testified that upon arriving to the scene, he heard Reed said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," indicating a possible admission to guilt. The defense, however, challenges this account and argues that Reed's statements were misinterpreted and that she was expressing confusion and distress upon discovering O'Keefe's body. They contend that her remarks were not confessions, but rather the reaction of a grieving partner trying to make sense of a tragic situation. What are your thoughts? Do you think Karen Reed is guilty or she is not guilty?
They hate you. You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.